Good evening, and welcome back, everyone, to the, I believe it's the fifth now episode of Pyramid Sports Network FC. I'm your host, Quinn Blackman, as always. Um, Today, I wanted to cover the past weekend in the Premier League, and I wanted to go over some World Cup predictions, some U.S. men's national team talk, and then we're going to discuss what I think is going to be the starting 11 for that first match in the World Cup and yeah, really go over my 26-man roster predictions and who I think is in a good spot to make the squad under Mauricio Pochettino. So to start, I just want to run through the Premier League of this past weekend. So on Friday afternoon, Leeds played host to Nottingham Forest, which was a major tie in the end or in the bottom of the table for these two clubs. Nottingham Forest is has a great manager, has some talent, has a lot of money, yet they seem to consistently underperform. Excuse me, my dog is back there creating a ruckus. Stop. Sorry. Anyways, so Nottingham Forest, they go to Leeds, they go to Ellen Road, one of the known to be one of the toughest places to play in the Premier League. And in the 26th minute, Leeds started the scoring, and they didn't look back from there. I'm just going to kind of run through goal scorers. It was Jaden Bogle in the 26th minute, and then in the 30th minute for Leeds, Noah Okafor scores again, and then in the 49th minute to make it 3-0 and pretty much ice the game right out of halftime is Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who has now reached double digits in goals in the Premier League for Leeds United and has really just been a revelation for them, is a true number nine, a goal scorer who seeks the back of the net and is just kind of right man, right spot, and is just really capable of making something out of nothing, it seems like, because his goal to make it 3-0 to Leeds in this match, it was a cross that was cut back and he used his chest and chested it home. It was one of the first times I've ever seen that. He's just having a phenomenal year, kind of right in the prime of his career, and he's helping Leeds stay up. And I would love to see Leeds stay up because Ellen Road is one of the most fantastic places to play in the Premier League. And in addition, especially on a Friday night, if they do this more and more, I think it's going to only be advantageous for the Premier League or for Leeds United if the Premier League continues to schedule these Friday night games at Ellen Road because it's just really a raucous environment. So in the 86th minute, Forest get one back from Lorenzo Luca, and the game goes final at 3-1, pushing Leeds 6 points safe of the relegation zone, which is, a pretty big deal for a club who's kind of on the come up. They've been playing great football recently. They have Brendan Aronson of the U.S. men's national team, who's been in great form for them and arguably the best form of his career after being sent off on loan and kind of being an outcast for them. But it's been phenomenal to watch. Moving on, we're going to go to Manchester United hosted Spurs, and United got the win 2-0 over Spurs, and Spurs continue to just really struggle. They saw Christian Romero pick up his second red card of the year and get sent off, and now he'll be suspended for the next three matches in the Premier League, one of them being the North London Derby at home against Arsenal. So that's going to be a big loss for them. Their captain, who seems to have a knack for making these kind of careless decisions. I think it's the sixth time since he's been a Spur that he has gotten sent off. And this tackle is just really careless and puts studs right in. I can't remember who the tackle was on him. I think it was Casemiro. Put studs right in his ankle, and it was his second yellow, and he was off. But in the 38th minute, off the corner, beautiful set play. Bruno Fernandes takes the corner, plays it short, gets cut back for Brian Mbeumo, who kind of passes it into the bottom right corner of the net. It was an unbelievable goal from the build-up and the setup of it, but the finish, he didn't hit it perfectly, but the fact that it made it through all those bodies in the box was really incredible. And then in the 81st minute, Bruno Fernandes gets one and makes it 2-0 to United, who continue their torrid pace under Michael Carrick, who is continually making himself a case for being the permanent manager. And I'm going to be curious to see because the United management seems so adamant of making him just an interim manager, but he has now just been in spectacular form these past 4 weeks now, I think it is, and he's playing them into the Champions League. And I think it's really hard to ignore a manager who plays to his players' strengths and is tactical and seems to have them playing free. And you just see a different kind of swagger out of Manchester United that you haven't seen in years because there's always seems to be this big name manager, lots of players, lots of money spent, and just they never seem to meet their expectations coming into the season. So it's great. They are playing for a Champions League position, and they're also not playing in Europe thanks to their failures over the past years, losing out in some domestic cups. And so they're going to be fresh, and they're really going to be making a push for playing in the Champions League next year. So that is United 2, Spurs nil. United continues. I believe they're fourth in the table now. Spurs continue to struggle under Thomas Frank, who is a great manager, just in such a tough situation for the with the club. And I think he'll land on his feet, but there's no way he survives in the next season. We'll head over to Wolves and Chelsea. Wolves hosted Chelsea, and thanks to a first half hat trick from Cole Palmer, Chelsea beat Wolves 3-1 and continues this torrid pace in the Premier League as well under Liam Rowe Sr. And he has just been a revelation. And I really think that the players love him. There, he was talking about Cole Palmer's hat trick in his post match interview, and he had to take a second and laugh because Cole Palmer was standing off to the side, just ecstatic. And I think it was huge for Cole Palmer, who reached 50 goal contributions in 100 appearances for or in 100 starts for Chelsea, and it's big for the player who's been hurt for a very long time and kind of struggled with injuries on and off and has been in and out of the lineup. And this is a guy who needs the confidence to be able to break into the starting 11 for the Three Lions in the World Cup this summer. And I think he's got a little bit of an uphill battle right now, just with how well Morgan Rogers has played throughout the whole season, some of it, and Declan Rice and some of the other midfielders that the English national team has at their disposal. But Cole Palmer, hat trick, two from the penalty spot. So it was kind of some were calling it a cheap hat trick, but his third goal he ripped into the roof of the net from pretty close range, and it was good to see. And seeing him do his Cole Palmer Ice Palmer celebration 3 times was incredible. So shout out Cole Palmer, great game, playing himself into serious contention for starting for England. And I think if he's healthy, it's really hard to find a more creative midfielder in the world than Cole Palmer and someone who has the ability to score goals at any given moment. So Chelsea 3, Wolves 1. Liam Rowe Sr. continues to be a phenomenal manager for the Blues. And then we're going to go over to Everton, who beat Fulham 2-1. There were two own goals each, one for each side in this game. And then the deciding goal was scored by Kieran Dewsbury Hall in the 75th minute. Or no, actually, excuse me, that was not the deciding goal. That was the goal to tie the match in an own goal by Bern Leno in the 83rd minute and gave Everton the win. Not much here. The first own goal, that was the Fulham goal, came off of a shot by Mexican national Raul Jimenez, and it was parried away by Jordan Pickford, but the rebound deflected off of his own teammate and into the back of the net. So it was really unfortunate. But Everton get the 3 points, and it's much needed for an Everton side that seems to not always be able, or kind of have a tough time of getting 3 points. They've just kind of been, tripping over their own feet over a lot of this 2025, 2026 campaign. So it's good to see them get 3 points. And we're going to move on to West Ham, who beat Burnley 2-0. The score line was set after the 26th minute. Tati Castellanos scored a goal in the 26th minute, and that was pretty much it. And West Ham is putting up a fight to get out of relegation zone, and that's why that win for Leeds was so big, because West Ham is in great form recently and has been kind of pressing to get out of that relegation zone with. They have a very expensive roster for a club that is in their table position, and albeit it is Burnley and a club that is most likely going to go down, but it was a big win for West Ham, puts pressure in it. They're starting to sneak up on Forest, and Forest really have to be careful with how they're playing in the league. Moving on, Bournemouth won, Villa won. In the 22nd minute, Morgan Rogers puts Villa ahead 1-0. He's one of my favorite midfielders in the world right now. He's going to start for the English national team in the World Cup, and he could potentially be linked to, or he's been linked to a summer move to Arsenal. He's been linked to Chelsea and some of the other big clubs in the Premier League. And I think that he is just a phenomenal player in phenomenal form who is a true number 10 and has the ability to change a game at any moment. His goal is beautiful. He just absolutely drills one into the roof of the net from a tough angle and beats Bournemouth's keeper and makes it 1-0 to Villa. But then in the 55th minute, Ryan, the Brazilian from um, Bournemouth, who is Antoine Semenyo's replacement for them, he makes this dashing run up the right wing and hits this low driven shot that is fading away. It looks like he hits a little cut shot that moves away from the keeper to Ryan's right, the keeper's left, right into the bottom corner. Beautiful goal. And Ryan, as 18 or 19-year-old Brazilian coming over for, I think it was somewhere in the range of $32 million over the January transfer window, has really impressed. And he looks like just a carbon copy of Antoine Semenyo. I think that Bournemouth have one of the best player identification staffs in the world because it seems that they consistently find great players. You see them transferring on all of these stars. Dean Huijsen is now center back at Real Madrid. You have Antoine Semenyo moving on, and they just seem to always be doing good business. So who knows if Ryan will stay there forever? I doubt he will. I bet you he will develop with Bournemouth, and then the Cherries will end up selling him to a bigger club because he is a phenomenal, phenomenal player with great pace on the wing. Moving on, we'll go to Brentford, who surprisingly beat Newcastle 3-2. I guess it's not really surprising because Newcastle has just been battered with injuries and have just really been out of sync recently. Eddie Howe is facing a lot of scrutiny, although I think that everybody seems to understand that it's not necessarily his fault. Playing in the domestic cup, playing in the Carabao Cup, losing to City in the semifinal, as well as playing in the Champions League and having success there, in addition to their weekly games in the Premier League, has really led to a slew of injuries for them. They some of their big signings, Nick Voltamad and Johan Visa, have not been great. They've been fine, but they haven't been that Alexander Isak transformative piece up at the number 9 spot. And I think that it is going to be kind of difficult for them to maintain this. They didn't have too much action going on in the January transfer window, and I think that the squad depth is really being tested right now, and it's going to be difficult for them. So Brentford 3, Newcastle 2. Igor Thiago got on the score sheet again with a penalty in the 40 in stoppage time in at the end of the first half. And then Bruno Guimaraes also scored for Newcastle. He's one of my favorite players to watch. In the 79th minute, he scored a penalty. But it was not enough to beat Brentford, who take home the win and get all 3 points. Moving on, Palace beat Brighton 1-0. Ismaila Sarr scores a 61st minute goal. And yeah, it's Palace just seemed to find a way to win, and there's not much entertainment or truly in this game watching it. It was kind of slow, methodical, but yeah, Palace get the win 1-0. Arsenal beat Sunderland 3-0, take all 3 points. And this was a big win for the Gunners as Victor Gyökeres came off the bench and had a brace in the second half, scoring in the 66th minute and then in the 94th minute in stoppage time. And he just looks like he's getting more and more comfortable and he's heating up at just the right time. I think that his goal in the Champions League at San Siro against Inter Milan really changed his confidence because he came off the bench. And I do think they're going to continue to roll out this tandem between Victor Gyökeres and Gabriel Jesus because they're such different players and provide different looks at the number 9 position. And then the scoring was started by Martin Zubimendi, just wonder goal. Ball gets cut back by Leandro Trossard just outside the 18. He pulls it short to the near post. It is a low driven shot that is just inch perfect off the bar and into the back of the net. And that made it 1-0 to the Arsenal, but the game goes on after, as I said, second half. Victor Gyökeres, 2 goals, 66 minute, 90 plus 4. First one assisted by Kai Havertz, where they just seem to have this growing chemistry where they really just have a knack for finding creative play. And then in the 94th minute and 90 plus 4, it was Gabriel Martinelli leading a break and making a great pass and an unselfish pass to Victor Gyökeres, who bags the second of the game. And then finally, yesterday afternoon, Liverpool hosted City in a very difficult game for City, and they really needed a 3 points. And it's a tight game. They're going into the 74th minute, and Dominic Soboslai hits maybe the most outstanding free kick the Premier League has seen in years. He is probably at least 35 yards out and hits and is pretty straight on. The City wall didn't really seem to be doing much. They might have been better without a wall, but Donnarumma couldn't even move because he hits this fading shot that was just crushed, just destroyed. I have no idea how you hit a soccer ball that hard. And he's just a set piece master, and he's one of the best in the world at it. And if you are an opposing team and Dominic Soboslai is within range, you are in trouble. And so they go up 1-0. Bernardo Silva, excuse me, ties the game in the 84th minute. And then there was a lot of drama at the end of this match as there was a red card that led to the dismissal of, I cannot remember who for Liverpool, but it gave Erling Haaland a penalty. And if you haven't watched this game, I very much so encourage you to go watch the highlights on YouTube because the end of this match are absolutely incredible. There's a ball that seems to be rolling in on a shot by Ryan Cherokee where Dominic Soboslai is pulling Erling Haaland's shirt, and Erling Haaland pulls Dominic Soboslai down. The ball goes in the back of the net, but for whatever reason, the goal is disallowed for City. It makes no sense. You just go watch it on YouTube. I can't post clips on here for copyright purposes, but I encourage everyone to go watch Manchester City versus Liverpool. City get the huge win to keep the gap at the top of the table to 6 points. And while Villa are in third, 9 points back of Arsenal, who are still setting the pace and seem to be really coming into form. So that is my Premier League roundup for this past weekend. I hope you all enjoyed that. I'm going to get into some U.S. men's national team notes now because I'm starting to get really amped up for this World Cup, as you all should be, because a World Cup in the United States has not happened since 1994, and it is just outstanding. It's going to grow the game so much. I hope that all of the opposing fans come in and have a great time and a great experience in America and Mexico and Canada. But to start these notes, some of the statistics changed slightly since I wrote them down since I was prepping. But I'm going to start with Weston McKennie, who was the Juventus Player of the Month midfielder, who's been playing in this shadow striker and sometimes lining up as a striker for Juventus. Weston McKennie now has 7 goals in all competitions, which is his career high now. And there have been a lot. There's been a lot of controversy around Weston McKennie in at Juventus because he is out of contract this summer, and there have been some strange talks about him potentially coming back, but it seems more and more likely that he's going to leave because the player wants a salary increase, and his contract expires in June. So I could see Weston McKennie. He could be a player that's very sought after because he seems to be coming into great form right now, and I think is this attacking mid that can play. It seems like he's playing this kind of Mikel Merino role where he's not a true number 9, but he can play a center forward position because he is just so skilled with his feet. Moving on, Malik Tillman, I'm going to highlight. He is at Bayer Leverkusen. In 15 matches this year, he has 4 goals in the Bundesliga. In the Champions League, he has 7 matches played and 2 goals. And this 2 weeks ago now, or this past week actually, he had a 3 goal week for Bayer Leverkusen with a first half brace against Villarreal in the Champions League, which was just absolutely outstanding for him. And I think he is going to make his case to be in the starting 11 at the World Cup. Malik Tillman, one of my favorite midfielders for the United States. And then he bagged a winning goal, not this past Saturday, but the Saturday prior against Frankfurt. It was a big time goal in a league match, and it ended up being the game winning goal. So there were some awards over throughout January that were given out. The U.S. Soccer Federation announced the 2025 Male Player of the Year is Chris Richards, the center back from Crystal Palace. This was announced on January 14th, and Chris Richards, some highlights for him. He has started 11 of 12 matches, including all 6 matches leading to the 2025 Gold Cup final for the men's national team in 2025. In this tournament, he scored 2 goals and earned a spot in the best 11 in the tournament. At the club level, he's made 32 appearances in all competitions for Palace in 2025, registering a goal and an assist, and being one of the staples for Crystal Palace's back line of defense in their FA Cup run that earned them their first trophy in club history. and then later winning the Community Shield against Liverpool prior to the start of the 2025-2026 season. This is a big deal for Chris Richards, a kid from Alabama who has really made a name for himself at Crystal Palace and is one of the best players on the men's national team. He's very underrated. And I think that the casual fan looks to the Christian Pulisics of the world and some of the bigger names, maybe the Tyler Adams or the Gio Reynas, but you need these guys at the back that are willing to get stuck in and are willing to be physical and won't back down to anybody, especially in a World Cup year. But some previous winners of this award in 2024, Anthony Robinson won. In 2023, Christian Pulisic won his fourth. In 2022, it was Tyler Adams. 2021, Pulisic won his third. And in 2020, it was Weston McKennie winning the Male Player of the Year for the United States. So congratulations to Chris Richards, a phenomenal lad, and I cannot wait to watch him in the World Cup this summer for the U.S. men's national team. Moving on, the 2025 Young Male Player of the Year in the U.S. Soccer Federation announced is Benjamin Kramashi, who is an Inter Miami player who is on loan right now. Or he is on loan at Parma in the Serie A. He is the second U.S. player ever to earn the Golden Boot at the U20 World Cup this last year, and he captained the U.S. U20 team to the quarterfinal, and it was a phenomenal. Excuse me. It was a phenomenal run for the U.S. U20 team and continues to show the improvement of development in the United States and that there's a lot of young talent in and within the United States, specifically for the U.S. men's national team. He's an Inter Miami player, playing 22 games with 16 starts in the 2025 season. Scored a goal with 4 assists at Inter Miami, and it is just a phenomenal time to be an Inter Miami player. And he's going to learn so much from those guys, from the Lionel Messi's to the Rodrigo De Pauls to the Sergio Busquets. He has a plethora of resources, and he's a very, very promising player moving forward for the United States men's national team. Keep on moving forward. Tim Weah this year for Marseille in 17 matches played as kind of a fullback, in addition to kind of a right mid or right wing, just anywhere on that right side he can truly play. 17 matches in league play with 2 goals and 2 assists. 7 matches in the Champions League with a goal and an assist. And he is a player who is very dynamic when he's on the ball. However, he is no sure spot on this in the starting 11 at the World Cup. I'll discuss that a little bit further. Moving on for PSV, Serginho Dest in 19 matches played. He has a goal and 4 assists in league play. In 6 matches in the Champions League, he has no goals, but as an assist as a right mid and a right back, and is just a truly dynamic player, especially when he is on the men's national team. I think he really makes a big difference for the men's national team just with his pace and his overlapping runs and his offensive ability as a right back. Reminds me a lot of one of my favorite players growing up, DeAndre Yedlin, a very pacey right back who played for Newcastle, among others, throughout his career. And then I wanted to highlight Christian Pulisic because he missed a trip to Bologna last week due to inflammation around his hip. And he continues to battle injuries, which is very concerning because we have not seen a fully healthy Christian Pulisic in a very long time. It seems like he is always fighting something. And I remember in the Gold Cup last summer, he did not want to compete because he wanted to rest. And it just seems like this is a guy who has had injuries plaguing him his whole career, going back to his Chelsea days and his Dortmund days. And he really needs to take care of his body leading up to the World Cup because there's one thing where you can have as much success as you want at the club level, but at the end of the day, you are a U.S. men's soccer player. And if you want to be discussed as the legends are, as the Clint Dempseys are, as the Landon Donovans are, as the Michael Bradleys are, you need to go out there and perform for your nation on the biggest stage. And I'm really looking forward to watching him because I love Christian Pulisic's game. I think he is so dynamic with the ball at his feet. I like it when he plays on the left, where he plays on the right for club, but for the national team, he'll play on the left, and he can really cut back and shoot the ball. But he's great with both feet. He's always has his head up, looking for passes to play if the shot isn't there. But it definitely is frustrating seeing him kind of take another injury knock because this season so far he has 8 goals and 2 assists in 16 matches, which is he's one of the better players in Serie A, and I really hope that he comes back into form because for a while there he was in contention for winning the Serie A Player of the Season. Moving on, I'm going to run through my 26-man World Cup roster for this upcoming summer's U.S. based. U.S., Mexico, and Canada are hosting the World Cup. this summer, and it is just going to be one of the most phenomenal environments that you and I have ever seen, and it's going to be a once in a lifetime experience. If you have the opportunity to go to a game, I highly encourage it, and highly encourage you to go because it really is once in a lifetime. It's going to be a little bit expensive, but it's going to be worth the price of admission. Um, so here we go. I'm just going to run down my list. I am bringing three goalkeepers. I am bringing nine defenders, seven midfielders, and seven forwards. So the first group of guys that I have here to go to the World Cup are some of the locks, I think. Some of the guys that you're definitely going to see in the lineup at least. Um, and so the first couple, I'll just run through them. Florian Balogun, I think he will start at the number nine position. Christian Pulisic, Matt Freese will start between the pipes. Chris Richards, Anthony Robinson, Tim Ream, Tim Weah, Weston McKennie, Tyler Adams, and Serginho Dest. I think those 10 guys right now are the core of U.S. men's soccer because they have experience domestically, they have experience internationally, they have experience in Europe, they've played all of the highest levels and all of the biggest matches, and those are guys that have proven themselves for the men's national team. Matt Freese is the one that, if you're not familiar with him, he's the goalkeeper that has kind of taken the reins from Matt Turner. And I really think that he's going to continue to be the first choice goalkeeper for Mauricio Pochettino. Moving on, the 11th guy I have on my list is Christian Roldan. It is a an MLS midfielder who Mauricio Pochettino loves. In the Gold Cup last summer, he had a great showing and is offensive minded, but can also really play box to box. And he is just a guy that I think will definitely be on the roster because of Poach's love for his type of player. Next guy I have is Malik Tillman. He's just up and coming, and I think that he is a guy that could definitely make a difference, potentially start a game at the World Cup, but off the bench will definitely make some appearances and is very dynamic, is pacey, is strong, is good on the ball, is intelligent, and I think that he'll definitely have a spot. Moving on, Brennan Aronson, Haji Wright, Patrick Schulte, the goalkeeper who will be my second slash third goalkeeper. My other goalkeeper on this list is Matt Turner, as I said, but I do think that Matt Freese will start over Patrick Schultz and Matt Turner. Diego Luna, the star of last summer. This is a guy who plays with his heart on his sleeve and loves to suit up for the men's national team. And I just cannot wait to see Diego Luna playing in the World Cup and watching this guy really try and go prove himself. And he plays with a chip on his shoulder, and it's brilliant to watch. And he brings this kind of juice that not many on the men's national team does. And he kind of reminds me of, the guys that I grew up watching, the Michael Brados of the world, the Josie Altidores of the world, the Clint Dempseys of the world, who will do anything for their country when they put that shirt on and put that crest on. So shout out Diego Luna. He's my 16th man on the roster. Sebastian Berhalter, another guy who Poach loves, is a dynamic midfielder who can play out wide, is great in service, great from corners, great off of set pieces, and I think that his service specifically will get him to the World Cup because of some of his ability on set pieces, but I think he's also a very athletic midfielder who has played a lot of football in the MLS these past couple of years. Moving on, Matt Turner, as I discussed before, Mark McKenzie, defender out of the MLS, Max Arfston, another MLS defender. I think they will both make the club. Those are guys that have had a lot of experience for the men's national team over the past couple of years. Continuing on, Tanner Tessman, he is with Lyon, and he has just really proven himself over in Europe and is a very strong midfielder, and is physical. And when you go into the World Cup, there are going to be a lot of these teams that look at the United States and want to out physical us because they think that we are or especially this generation. I think that they think they're kind of soft, but they're going to be able to kind of match this with guys like Tanner Tessman. So then moving on, 22, Ricardo Pepi, then Gio Reyna, Patrick Ajimang, Alex Freeman, and Miles Robinson. So Gio Reyna is a guy who has not been playing a lot of football in Europe. He's in Germany, but he has great showings for the U.S. men's national team every single time he is there. And I fully expect him to be on the roster because he's had great showings for in Poach's system. Excuse me. And Patrick Ajimong at Derby, he's been doing it in the championship, and he's a big-bodied number nine who can go in there and make some space. And he's still very raw, but I think that his size alone will get him onto this roster. Alex Freeman and Miles Robinson, those are two guys that I expect to vie for one of the starting spots in starting 11 for this year's World Cup this summer. So I'm going to next go through where I think they're going to line up in formation and where I also think who I think is going to be in the lineup. So let me try and share my screen. We are going to share screen options. Okay, we're not going to do that. One second. We're going to share. We're going to go to where this is being difficult. Let me see. Let me see right here. We're gonna try this. We're gonna try this. Share. Let's see if this works. Well, Zoom Workplace. Okay, never mind. So we are going to just discuss who I think is going to be in the starting 11 this year at the World Cup. So the lineup that I think that they are going to continue with this 3-4-2-1 formation that Mauricio Pochettino ran last year a little bit in the Gold Cup and then into these friendlies in the fall, specifically against Uruguay when they had a great showing. So at the top, at the number nine, I have Florian Balogun playing the number nine with Christian Pulisic on his left and Tim Weah on his right. Those are the guys with making up the attack in the wings. I think that in the midfield, in the four of the 3-4-2-1, I think it's going to be Anthony Robinson on the left, Tyler Adams, Weston McKennie, and then Serginho Dest on the right. In that order specifically, Weston McKennie is kind of he's just been doing it at the club level, and I expect him to be in the lineup. And then at the back in the back three. I have Tim Ream on the left. I have Chris Richards in the middle, and I have Miles Robinson or Alex Freeman in that other center right back position. I think that those are two guys that you can really have a coin flip. Miles Robinson is very tried and tested with the national team, and Alex Freeman just made the move to Villarreal from Orlando City. And then my goalkeeper, as I mentioned earlier, I have Matt Freeze. And then I'll just kind of go through some of my tactical things that I would like to see out of this club. I think that Florian Balogun is a very good target forward. I think he makes great runs in between lines, but is also very good with the ball at his feet. So I think that you're going to look to see Christian Pulisic playing kind of not necessarily a true wing because I think he is so good cutting back to the right. Onto his right foot, onto his strong foot. But I think that he's going to be playing this kind of advanced wing forward position where he has the freedom to really do whatever he wants. As opposed to on the other side where I think Tim Weah, just with his pace and kind of his build as a player, I think he's going to be more of a true winger, trying to work with Serginho Dest, making overlapping runs, and really trying to put service into the box for some of the bigger guys, which is where you come into Anthony Robinson on the left mid position, kind of playing that wing back role where when they're not in possession, he will drop back a little bit deeper and defend like he normally does. But he is going to play in that left mid position where he's going to also make some overlapping runs, I think, but not quite to the extent that Serginho Dest does. But he is also very good in advanced positions, especially on set pieces because of his aerial ability. Tyler Adams is going to play in the middle with Weston McKennie, or Weston McKennie is going to be more of the attacking midfielder. Tyler Adams is just kind of the heartbeat of this team. And I would love to see him with the armband on because every time he steps on the pitch for the U.S. men's national team, much like Diego Luna, he wears his heart on his sleeve and he will do anything. He will not back down to anyone. And you've seen that in his career at Bournemouth. He does not shy away from some bigger names who come to talk to him. So I think the Weston McKennie will play a little more advanced role, and then you get over to the right on the right wing. Serginho Dest is going to play more of an advanced right wing, right mid wing back role, where he also has the freedom to make some overlapping runs with Tim Weah because he is so good in advancing the football. due to his pace. I also think that he'll, obviously out of possession, he'll be a little more deep lying, but um, just tactically, I think that's kind of what you're going to see out of the attack, out of the midfield. Tim Ream, Chris Richards, and Miles Robinson at the back are just that. That's a great back line. Tim Ream is, I think that you're not going to really see him play 90 minutes a whole lot since he's at the tail end of his career. But he is a guy who will do everything. He's a great teacher, a great mentor for a lot of these guys. You're going to see him next to Chris Richards, who is just electric. That's a guy that I trust with everything, and I think that those guys, especially if they play with Miles Robinson, they played a lot of football together, and you're going to see some really good work out of them. So that will do it for my starting 11 prediction. Everybody get pumped because the World Cup is coming to the United States and Mexico and Canada. But this is the first time in my life that a World Cup's been here. I mentioned it a few times. I'm going to the World Cup. I'm going to mention it so many more times because I absolutely can't wait. And this is just one of the most um, unbelievable experiences I'm going to have going with one of my best friends. And yeah, it just seems like the culmination of my soccer fandom throughout my life has led to the World Cup being in the United States. Um, some more news in the regarding the U.S. men's national team. There is a rumor about the kit. I will put an image right now. There is a rumor that the kit is going to be kind of like the Waldo kit from I think it was 2012. Landon Donovan most notably wore it. Red and white stripes, but mixing in a little bit of the 90s look. It's going to be more of like a flag, a wavy type thing, and I think they're just beautiful. And you will probably see me in one at some point this year. I think I'm gonna have to get one. And then the other rumor is about the away kit is a black kit with kind of like silver stars they're almost translucent on the kit, but is a blackout kit with the crest on the left side of the chest. Another beautiful kit. So it's a really good time to be a U.S. soccer fan, and I encourage you if you're thinking about getting a kit to get one. It's always a great decision. I love wearing my jerseys. Today, I am not wearing a soccer jersey. I am wearing a rugby jersey. This is the South African rugby team, courtesy of one of my great friends, Miles Kruger. Went to South Africa, where his father's from, and his father's side of his family's from, and got me this kit. It's phenomenal. But if you're thinking about getting a football kit, get it. It's they're so fun. I mean, I so far I've been meaning to show you guys my collection. I have a couple Portland Hearts of Pines kits. I actually have three of them. I have all of their kits from this past season. I have a Benfica kit. I have a Roma kit from when I was over there. My Arsenal shirt. Um, and then I do have a Wrexham shirt because the Wrexham, the documentary, it gets a lot of hate. If you haven't watched it, it's called Welcome to Wrexham on FX and Hulu. It's about Rob McElhenney and Ryan Reynolds buying a Welsh football club that was pretty much banished out of the football league due to poor ownership, and they've brought them back to the championship where they're in championship playoff position to potentially get promoted again for the fourth straight year to the Premier League, which would be outstanding. But went through a rough patch a few years ago, had a surgery, and just really struggled after it mentally. And that show and the story of that town. And I loved Rob McElhenney from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, being from Philadelphia. And I got that shirt to kind of honor that connection to me. And then there's just one more piece of news that I wanted to cover before we wrap up this episode of This Week in Football. There is a huge player, another huge player coming to the MLS. It is Colombian legend James Rodriguez, who signed with Minnesota United. And that is a shirt that I might have to get. But James Rodriguez to Minnesota United, the MLS continues to bring kind of these older European legends. I'm hoping soon that, as we mentioned on the previous episode of the news with the USL's promotion and relegation system, I think over the next 10 years, you're going to see some big strides. And I'm really excited to go on that journey with all of you listeners because this is something that I plan on doing for a while, not because I'm looking for money from it, but it's because I love football and I love to talk about football. And it's something that I think brings community and it brings people together from all over the world. Number one sport played in the world. You could speak any language. You can look like anyone. You can be from any part of the world and you can love football. And that's why I'm so excited to have the World Cup in the United States. And the game that I'm going to is Spain against Saudi Arabia. And I'm really looking forward to talking to some of those fans and kind of immersing myself in their culture for that day. But also just building connections through sports because sports are really one of the things that brings people together most, especially in times like we're in right now where there's just so much social turmoil, so much injustice going on in the world, and we really need to just as humans just really focus on what's most important. It's creating connections with others and leading by example and having courage and having compassion. Um, but that's going to be all for this week's episode of This Week in Football. I'm your host again, Quinn Blackman. Look out next week for another episode. I'm really starting to like this format of once a week. It gives me enough time to properly to properly prepare and give you guys the best content that I can. It covers the most. And let me know in the comment section below if you want to hear more about the U.S. men's national team, or if there are some other national teams you want me to cover, if there's some other European clubs you want me to cover, MLS clubs. The MLS season is starting soon, but yeah, just let me know in the comments below what you guys want to see because I'm doing this for not only for myself, but I'm doing it for you all listeners who are going to go on this journey with me. So I appreciate you all. And thank you so much. I'll see you next time.